Hey, welcome to Socialism for All. Today's date is September 24, 2020. Have a quick story for you here about a little thing Bernie Sanders did. So Bernie Sanders, we have covered quite extensively on Socialism for All. Really, I started doing Socialism for All in about January of this year, right in time for the start of the primary. I was willing to be part of the Bernie Sanders coalition in that it seemed like we were doing some class consciousness raising. However, that was predicated on a number of things. Mainly, I assumed he was staying in to fight till the end of the primary. He rolled over in April after a very lackluster showing during the primary. It was probably weaker sauce than in 2016. And just, wow, I was not happy with Bernie Sanders after 2016 and, suspected he was sheepdogging. I was willing to give it another try because what did we have to lose this time? And wow, Bernie collected about $200 million, stabbed us in the back. And, the guy was filling stadiums. He doesn't need the Democratic Party. He could have either, formed an independent left party that was at least opposed to like neoliberalism, kind of a social democratic party. Not that I think that would have been great, but I don't know, something to keep the ruling class somewhat antagonized. I don't know. He could have put his infrastructure into the Green Party. He could have proposed a merger with PSL and Greens and, make like an actual socialist, social democrat coalition that Marxists might have had an opportunity to find a real voice in. Okay. Instead, he did none of these things, and he took his $200 million and he took his campaign infrastructure and he's channeling it into Joe Biden, who I am fairly convinced. I mean, not only is the Democratic Party, the party of Joe Biden, controlled by the 1% from top to bottom through the campaign donations. And we know from the Princeton study on democracy, if you just look that up, the United States is not a democracy. It's basically money runs the elections. So, and the Democratic Party is a big part of that. Well, Bernie Sanders just put all of his shit behind that. And Joe Biden, I don't think is trying to win. I think that the Dems have to run somebody, but the ruling class, to me, seems hell-bent on just letting it ride in this casino economy with Trump. They want to take it to the wall. They want to just milk the economy until it breaks down for everything that it's worth. That is how it seems to me anyway. But we are getting this increased messaging about voting against fascism. I did a video about Vosh a few weeks ago that was fairly popular. Check it out. Who was trying to cite Marx and Engels and Lenin in support of Joe Biden and fell on his face, but didn't even seem to notice that he broke all of his teeth in the process. I mean, it was the citations did not support the point, to put it mildly. You cannot merely vote out fascism, let alone by voting for fascist collaborators. And the Democrats have been collaborating with the Republican Party, which, yes, is openly fascist, whereas the Dems are more covertly fascist. The Republican Party is a hideous cancer on the world. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They're openly anti-intellectual, anti-immigrant, anti-humanity. I mean, anti-everything decent, anti-worker. They stand for the absolute lowest of the low. And they're an organized force, and they have a lot of money behind them. But so what is Bernie Sanders doing? He's, again, funneling his resources, our resources, those of us who gave to him, gave of time or money or whatever, funneling it behind a complete loser of a candidate, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who I submit are not actually trying to win. They're just sort of, running to run to, make it look like they are opposing, but they are not. And so coming off of the video I just did about justice for Breonna Taylor, we have a tweet from Joy-Ass Reed. Stop expecting justice from this system. Vote in better political leaders and change the system. Okay, so this is the kind of messaging we're now getting from, cable mega hosts. Well, first of all, we got stop expecting justice from the system. vote in better leaders to the same system. Okay, voting in new leaders doesn't change the system. It's still the same system. It's capitalism. The ruling class is not willingly going to change that. They would rather let the whole country burn to ash than willingly give up power. But she goes on, as it stands now, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not held even close to equally by every American. The only way to change that is to change who governs us. Well, this is a person who, stood in the way of, gaslit, spread misinformation and lies about the Bernie Sanders movement. Joy Reid was like a full-time anti-Bernie activist. And you can believe, if she's anti-Bernie, she's anti-Marxist. It's not like she's a critic of Bernie from the left. So this is now the rhetoric from the Democratic Party. Well, what's Bernie Sanders saying? Yesterday on Twitter, there was by the way, I hate to do just Twitter journalism, but covering, mass current events is important. I must say, there's so many people on YouTube who just sort of consider themselves journalists because they report what happened on Twitter, and it's kind of funny. But anyway, there was a hashtag going around. I find this notable because I haven't really heard much from Bernie Sanders, but he seems to have collaborated on this message. Hashtag listen to Bernie. And I'm not going to play the video. I just don't want a copyright strike or something, but I did transcribe it. So enjoy the still of Bernie while I read it for you. Just imagine Bernie is reading this. Let me take this opportunity to say a word to the millions of people who supported my campaign this year and in 2016. Together, we have moved this country in a bold new direction. Comment. No, we haven't. Literally, like the day after Bernie dropped out of the race, all of the demands, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, you name it, dropped out of the news cycle. Literally not a peep was heard. Joe Biden thinks that Medicare for all wouldn't impact the quality of care during the pandemic, for God's sake. That's who Bernie Sanders is supporting. And he's talking about a bold new direction. Fuck you. That's just absolute bullshit. So already we're off to a bad start. Bernie has sunk even lower than I thought was possible, even for Bernie. And to all the people out there who are like, they must have threatened Bernie's family. No, they didn't fucking threaten his family. Come on. Bernie, first of all, is like 90 million years old. Come on. Like, he just doesn't have that much to lose. And I just don't know how to say this. I mean, he's part of the system. He's part of the system. He represented a part of the ruling class that wanted to make some relatively cheap concessions to us. Now, I would take healthcare if somebody offered it to me. I'm not going to be like, no, on principle, no, because it came from a capitalist. Like, I'm not going to do that. There are problems, though, with, taking those bribes. But anyway, I would take it. We as socialists would still have to step up our messaging around that so that people don't get the wrong idea. But anyway, Bernie represents this sliver, this small fraction of the ruling class that was inclined to make a few concessions. And I mean, they couldn't have tried to humiliate him more, but he wants to be part of the club. So here he is. They didn't threaten his goddamn family. Now, do I know that for a fact? No, I don't. But come on. I mean, just look at his behavior. It's like, a guy in his position, he can fill stadiums. He could break away. He could become independent. He doesn't need to be senator anymore either. I mean, there were a lot of rumors that, and it was covered in Counterpunch even, that Bernie and the Democratic Party made a pact that they wouldn't seriously challenge him if he didn't seriously challenge them in Vermont. He doesn't even need to run for re-election anymore. I mean, it's just pretty wild. I think in Vermont, honestly, if the Democrats ran somebody against him, he could still beat them. But anyway, this is Bernie now. So together we have moved this country in a bold new direction, showing that all of us yearn for a nation based on the principles of justice, love, and compassion. Well, some of us do, commenting. You know, about a third of the country that supports Trump is hell-bent. First of all, is confused out of their minds. There could be like 3 Democrats in the entire U.S. government, and the people supporting Trump would still blame them for everything going wrong. Like, they just literally refuse to look at their own culpability, to look at the system, whatever. And no matter what it is, they always want to scapegoat somebody. So that's a massive fucking problem. And yes, give those people health care. See if it changes their minds. But I think that there's no way around a head-on confrontation at some point with the fact that this is a nation of fucking reactionaries, and it's predisposed to lean right every time that the system gets unstable. Okay, continuing with Bernie. But let us be clear. If Donald Trump is reelected, all the progress we have made will be in jeopardy. Well, the good news is we haven't made that much progress, I guess. At its most basic, this election is about preserving our democracy. Comment, no, it isn't. The United States is not a democracy. I referenced this in a previous video or two. Just search on the Princeton study on democracy. The Princeton study showed that the United States is an oligarchy, not a democracy. What does that mean? It means ruled by a small cabal of people. It is a plutocracy. It's ruled by the rich. Basically, there were 2 major findings. Well, at least that were major to me. 1, 95% of the time, the candidate who spends the most money wins the election. Effectively meaning that you have a 95% chance of buying any given election in the United States. Okay? It's not foolproof. There's 5% that go the other way, but 19 out of 20 times, if you spend more money, you'll have bought the election. Number 2, public policy does not statistically correspond with public opinion. However, it does significantly statistically correspond with donor opinion, meaning people who have the money and make those donations make policy, and the politicians just rubber stamp what their donors do. So elections are bought, and then public policy positions are bought. This is not a democracy. People telling you it is a democracy. AOC, I'm not covering AOC directly. AOC basically gave a similar speech to what Bernie is doing here in this Listen to Bernie thing. She said the same thing. We got to defeat Trump to save our democracy. Then we're going to talk about CPUSA in an upcoming video because they're saying the same shit. The U.S. is not a democracy. The sooner you fucking realize that, the better. The sooner you join a real socialist organization and fight. You start organizing, and you start organizing to build socialism. You decouple from the 1% controlled power structure, and you start organizing independently of all of that money and the corporate and the bourgeois interests. That's what we need to do. Bernie Sanders failed to do that. His modeling is, if you can't beat him, join him. That's a terrible message he sent to his base. Bernie Sanders should be attacked at every turn. And if you're still clinging to Bernie Sanders, smack yourself in the face, gently, or let's say as gently as you can smack yourself while still getting your own attention. Bernie Sanders is not good for you. He's selling you out. He's lying. He took your money and he funneled it into Joe Biden. Okay? Not your friend. And please stop with the Bernie means well and all this other shit. He doesn't fucking mean well. He knows way better than this. All right. And as we'll see as we get through this script. All right, so let me just back up. I'll read through the whole thing. I've been commenting a lot. Let me take this opportunity to say a word to the millions of people who supported my campaign this year and in 2016. Together, we have moved this country in a bold new direction, showing that all of us, right, yearn for a nation based on the principles of justice, love, and compassion. Comment, not socialism, but, justice, ideals, justice, love, and compassion. But let us be clear, if Donald Trump is reelected, all the progress we have made will be in jeopardy. At its most basic, this election is about preserving our democracy. The unthinkable has become normal. Comment, so now we got Bernie in on the Joe Biden back to normal messaging. Bernie is on their side, folks. He's part of their team. He is buying into this whole we got to get back to normal thing. Guess what? We're 40 years into neoliberalism, and we're 20 years into the war on terror, which is like neoliberalism to the next level. George W. Bush built a police state. Department of Homeland Security didn't exist before that. You want to talk about not normal? Calling shit the fucking homeland is not normal. That was 20 years ago, and the Democrats helped him build it. That was not normal. That was the time to stop it. Pretending this started with Trump is totally wrong. Trump is a slug. Trump is disgusting. But Trump did not invent what's going on. The entire government, with the backing of finance capital and at the direction primarily of finance capital, created what's happening. Trump is their scapegoat. Now, Trump is a piece of shit. I mean, he's loathsome. But putting this on Trump, who is a buffoon, who is telling people to drink bleach and whatever. I mean, Trump is disgusting. Just going near Trump's corner of like Facebook or Twitter, like I feel like I need to take a shower. He has drawn out some of the absolute most like bottom feeding people in the culture. But Trump did not build the police state. Trump did not build neoliberalism. All right? Get that out of your head. The unthinkable has become normal. Okay. Trump has tried to prevent people from voting. Comment. Okay, the Republicans have been doing this forever. We now have paperless e-voting in, I think it's a quarter of U.S. Election districts, meaning that you vote on a touchscreen. There's no paper trail. There's no way to do a recount. That's been for a while now. That's been for over a decade. Okay? Again, elections are bought. Public policy is bought. We don't have real elections in the USA. We don't have democracy at any level of this. I mean, people, particularly people of color, get thrown off the ballot for having the same name, even if their middle name is different than a felon. And they're just like, oh, are you David Allen Smith? No, I'm David Robert Smith. Oh, well, your name is David Smith, so we're taking away your right to vote because you have the same name as somebody with a felon, even though it's actually not the same name. They do that all the time. Go look at Greg Palast, P-A-L-A-S-T. He's been doing work exposing how the elections are not real for quite a while, going back. I mean, he started, I think, in 2000. But that's 20 years now, folks. That's quite a while ago. Do the Democrats say anything about it? They do not. Do they say anything about the Electoral College? They do not. Democrats are fascist collaborators. You don't get rid of fascism by voting for the people who collaborated with the fascists. Is that clear? You know, there was a sea change when Trump got elected. Yes, the right was emboldened. But guess what? The right grew under Obama as well. The Democrats lost 1,000 seats at all levels of government. The Democrats got decimated during the 2010s. The right grew. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been the coalition to elect Donald Trump. That existed before Trump, okay? Little bit of background. George W. Bush was the last gasp of the, air quotes, respectable Republican establishment. Cheney and Bush burned through all the credibility and all the goodwill that most people had with the Republican Party. Then they brought out the Tea Party as like, well, okay, we've exhausted the corporate wing of the Republican Party. I mean, as far as the like grassroots, air quotes, who do we got left? And they brought out the fascist Tea Party as like the new berserkers. And they elected people like Rand Paul, and they elected reactionary governors across the country, et cetera, et cetera. And then Trump came in as the cherry on top, but he's not the cake. He's the cherry. Okay. You've got to understand that. So Bernie, though, if you listen to this shit, it would be, you know, you would think the opposite. And Democrats, I think I'm going to have my Hillary Clinton moment where she was like, you know, half of the people voting for Donald Trump, you know, are well-meaning people who want to see economic change, and the other half are a basket of deplorables. I think half the people who vote Democrat, maybe more, mean well. Like, they're decent, if somewhat, you know, short-sighted and unimaginative people who haven't thought through the whole thing, and they don't like Trump. And honestly, why would you like Trump? Okay? And, you know, they would like these ideals of like peace and love and compassion and stuff. Okay. They haven't been educated in Marxism, so they don't see the connection between liberalism and economic exploitation and the connection between liberalism and imperialism. So like they don't see that. That's kind of what makes them liberals. And then there are, of course, also not naive liberals who are aware of the imperialism and all that stuff. And they're just like, well, I can profit. So whatever. But again, I think at least half the people who vote Democrat, half are the basket of neoliberal deplorables. And then the other half are decent people who just don't understand the hidden side of the economy and how living in the first world and, being on the receiving end of the exploitation, meaning getting the surplus value being imported into your country rather than, exported out of it. They don't get it. That's our job as socialists, to propagandize and agitate among those people. Bernie Sanders, again, doing the opposite. Bernie Sanders is going to put you to sleep. All right, so resuming. Trump has tried to prevent people from voting, undermined the U.S. Postal Service, deployed the military and federal agents against peaceful protesters, threatened to delay the election, and suggested that he will not leave office if he loses. None of these are good things. None of them are unique to Trump. Not a one. Undermining the U.S. Postal Service. Look up the Postal Reform Act of 2006. The Republicans led the effort to basically hamstring the post office financially so that it would be ripe for more privatization. And incidentally, the U.S. Post Office used to have more of a monopoly on mail and package delivery in the countries. However, I believe in the 70s, at the beginning of the neoliberal counter-revolution, there was successful lobbying for liberalization, privatization of package delivery. So that's where FedEx and UPS came in and got like a bigger chunk, bigger slice of the pie. Well, why did they do that? Because parcel delivery is profitable. Do you think letter delivery is profitable? Do you think that UPS is going to let you put a 50-cent stamp onto a tiny piece of mail and that they're going to want to deliver it way to like the boonies of Montana, which the USPS will do? Do you think that, remote New Hampshire or like middle of nowhere in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia, you think UPS or FedEx is going to want to deliver mail there, or like, through 200 miles of nothingness in like South Dakota? No, it's not profitable. So they just want to carve up the profitable pieces and then let the rest go to shit. And that's pretty much just the story of neoliberalism, is like take the cream and leave the rest to spoil. Unfortunately, society needs the rest, but they can't figure out how to make it profitable, so they just don't fucking do it, and then we suffer. Our quality of life suffers. Our standard of living drops because we need those public services. We do need them. All right. Deployed the military and federal agents against peaceful protesters. This is par for the course. This has been done time and time again throughout U.S. history. I mean, literally back to the beginning. Threatened to delay the election. Okay, it may be an empty threat. It may not. And suggested that he will not leave office if he loses. I will say that the exact same conversation was happening with George W. Bush in the 2000s. People were like, Bush's third term, and what if he doesn't leave office and all this kind of stuff. So, do you think that the ruling class, with the trillions of dollars at stake in the system, that they would let Trump just stay, like, that they would let Trump put his ego over everything else? Come on. Trump is under their control. I'm not saying that, their control is a benevolent one when it comes to workers' rights or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that for a second. I'm saying that their system might be impacted if Trump does something like that. And, so I guess to put this another way, Bernie and the Democrats are trying to make this all about, Trump is this independent rogue agent, the scapegoat. He is not. Trump doesn't do anything he does without the blessing at some level from the rest of the 1%, from the rest of the capitalist elite. So if Trump doesn't leave office, it is with their blessing. Okay? They will coup him in 2 seconds. If not, all this shit the Democrats have been doing with impeachment, it's a dog and pony show. They could have had Trump out of there on day one for emolument stuff if they were actually an opposition party and not controlled opposition fascist collaborators. So understand that the financial elites who actually rule the country, Trump's under their control. He is not a rogue agent. He reflects their wishes. All right, so there we go. The 1% is not monolithic. There are more socially liberal factions of it. Some of them really don't like Trump. But ultimately, this government is a bourgeois capitalist government that is there to govern capitalism. It's not there to help you, a worker. It's there to govern capitalism and to reflect the interests of the capitalist class. And Trump right now reflects their wishes. So if you don't like Trump, take it up with the capitalists, organize for socialism. Don't fall into this narrow electoral thinking. Now go vote, but don't vote for a bourgeois party. That is what I say. All right, continuing with Bernie's thing here. This is not normal, and we must never treat it like it is. Well, commenting, that's more of this normalcy rhetoric. He's emphasizing it twice. This president is not just a threat to our democracy. Comment again, there's no democracy here. That's a lie. But by rejecting science, he has put our lives and health in jeopardy. Comment. So with regard to COVID, absolutely. With regard to climate change, absolutely. I don't want Trump in office. We need to end capitalism, which would mean ending the possibility of people like Trump governing. Okay. We need a new government for workers. But what have the fascist collaborating Dems put forward with regard to COVID? Now, they hit Trump for not acting sooner. And there is, I think, credible research showing that if Trump had acted even like a week sooner, like 100,000 lives could have been saved. Something like that. Don't quote me on that exact number, but it was a lot of lives if he had just acted like a week sooner. And we don't even know the accurate death count. I suggest people go to trackthecurve.com if you want to see statistics. The U.S. leads the world in COVID cases. It's a fucking travesty. Trump has not been good on COVID at all. Don't get me wrong. But what have you heard Biden say? I heard him say Medicare for all wouldn't help. And they have not put forward any concrete thing of if they get elected, what they're going to do and how they're going to handle it differently. Again, I don't think they're playing to win. If you did want to win, it would be very easy to lay out a better proposal. The Dems aren't doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment. But I have not seen a comprehensive Democratic coronavirus package. And in fact, the next video we're going to do is on the fact that the Democrats, government as a whole, is about to leave until after the election without passing enhanced pandemic assistance benefits. That's unconscionable. We're coming up on 2 whole months of just the $200 a week that they've been giving people, or usually less. That's unimaginable. I don't think any other country is doing anything remotely like that. It's really just the United States. So, but here we have Bernie acting like Trump is this singular threat and not the wishes of the reflective of the collective will of the capitalist class. So it goes on. My friends, I say to you, to everyone who supported other candidates in the primary, and to those who may have voted for Donald Trump in the last election, the future of our democracy is at stake. Comment, Bernie is gaslighting. We don't have a democracy. I don't feel particularly confident about the future of this government. I think that things will keep getting more and more unstable. And then I think that the clashes that we've seen in the street between Antifa and, fascist Proud Boys, neo-Nazis, whatever, I think that those battles are going to get lengthier and lengthier and more frequent and more frequent. And eventually there practically won't be, a stop or an end to them. They will be more or less continuous. That is my prediction. I'm not happy about that, but I think that is probably what's coming, more instability. And, the only upside is that maybe we may get some real change out of it. I was, personally very inspired by what was going on around the George Floyd stuff. Like, people were really getting out there. And then it just seemed to stop. And I can't help but think that it coincided with the end of July when the enhanced pandemic stuff ran out, the assistance money that was being given to people. And basically the ruling class just told everybody to go back to work. So I don't know, but I got to think that that's not entirely going away. But Bernie's selling you a bill of goods here. The future of our democracy is at stake. Well, if we had one, I might be more worried. Don't get me wrong. I am worried about the instability. But on the other hand, we are seeing, and I think millions, tens of millions of people are realizing, this system, is mortal, for lack of a better word. This system is not like a force of nature. This system could fall, and we could make it fall. So, I mean, that's the upside, is people are realizing it. The downside is it's a dangerous time to live through, and it really is dangerous. But the upside is that we may not have to endure it forever. All right, getting back to listen to Bernie here. The future of our economy is at stake. The future of our planet is at stake. We must come together, defeat Donald Trump, and elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as our next president and vice president. Okay, so again, this is, high stakes. We're going to say that all of this is on Trump, etc., ignoring the fact that the entire rest of the GOP exists. The entire corporate side, which is like 95% of the Democratic Party, exists. What about that? What about that, Bernie? You can talk about that? Because I think he used to talk about some of it. And now it's just toe the line for Kamala and Joe. And sorry, not sorry, go fuck yourself, Bernie Sanders. Just stay in the hole that you crawled into in mid-April. Don't come back out. Shut the fuck up. He concludes by saying, "My friends, the price of failure is just too great to imagine." And I say, if anyone knows about failure, Bernie Sanders, it is you. Go fuck yourself one more time. Thank you very much. Onward to socialism. Let's get organized. Let's do it. This has been Socialism for All. Thanks to our current patrons whose names are on the screen. You can follow us at facebook.com/socialismforall for shit posting and discussion. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment on the channel here, youtube.com/c/socialismforall. That helps to boost the video, helps more people to see it. Please share this video and our other content in your Facebook groups, in your Discord servers, on your Twitter. Everything that you do on Reddit helps to, just spread the word and get more people involved in the discussion of socialism and organizing for socialism. And we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for listening.